is Rowena Dooley asking Sol citizens to report for duty.
And greetings. Welcome back to the Soul Citizens. I am Griffin Gaming RPG, and we are back for another great week of conversation with a great panel of guests. It is April the 23rd, Sunday evening, and we hope you all are doing well. And I want to give some shout outs to all the cool people who jumped in here nice and early. We saw the 07, so thank you guys for joining us. And as I mentioned, we've got some very special guests here. I want to introduce, these are two popular names in our community. One face you probably have seen before, and one we have the honor of debuting on the Soul Citizens today. So first off, I want to start out with right next to me. Not Smithy Joe Bob, but Mr. Hasgaha. He did the perfect timing for that, right? Mr. Hasgaha. Hasgaha, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. No, we are happy to have you. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to be here tonight. And directly to his left and your right, his divine shadow. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
Great.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, no, we are happy to have you on. You know,
World premiere.
You know, I've got to say that world premiere. This guy, I've seen his name forever. He's been a great supporter of a lot of the content creators out here, and it's always nice to put a face with a. Well, I was going to say with a voice, because his voice is familiar to me, but maybe it's just something in my back of my brain. But I guess we could say a face with a chat, so we know who he is now. So thank you again for being here today.
And actually, Griffin, that was his divine shadow who gave that sub. It was a gifted sub.
Oh, it was a gifted sub. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, HDS. Thank you for that gifted sub to Smithy Joe Bob.
Take care of Smithy.
They can take care of Smithy. All right. Also joining me today are some of my compadres. We have Abdi Johan. Abdi, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How's everybody doing?
You know what?
Thank you for that follow.
Yes, thank you. You know, I've reverted back to my old ways. Abdi.
There you go.
Abdi. I can say Abdi. I've got get that American stuff out of me. Abdi. Good to see you.
All good.
And next to him is Fast Cart FC. How are you, FC?
I'm doing well. How's everybody else doing? I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
Good. And last,
I feel woefully inadequate for this show, but I'm muddle through somehow.
You'll be fine. And last but not least, our favorite new person among our team, Yo-Yo Meg. How are you, Meg?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. It's been a while. I've missed y'all.
We are always happy. You know what? I've been watching you. You've been blowing up. Your numbers are going up more and more since you've been hitting Star Citizen hard. So congratulations on that. I'm like, this girl, holy smoke, she dusted me. Shoot, I got to work on my game. But anyway.
Just trying to show out for the Soul Citizens.
Is that what it is? Well, we love you, sweetie. You've been doing a great job. Actually, I've been watching your stream, really. You've been doing a great job. Your energy is infectious that people have. So, and when you and Abdi team up, it's always great when you guys are on some stream together. So it's always fun.
Thank you.
Well, folks, we are here today on a show called The Camera Eye. And the theme of today's show is talking about something that people have enjoyed in Star Citizen. Some people have ridiculed about Star Citizen. Some people will say that Star Citizen is the greatest screenshot game ever. And they say that with love. And there are other ones who say that that's all it is. It's nothing but a great screenshot game. So we're talking about the fact that what is it about Star Citizen that does compel us to do these really incredible screenshots and a lot of stuff that you guys have seen. I mean, we've talked about Machinima. We've done that every week on Fast Card Show. We've done it on this show. We brought on Machinima artists and content creators, but we've never really dealt with the digital photography aspects of it. And the two people that we have here as our guests today, I invited them specifically because they both have contributed work, particularly when I'm watching Yacht Club. Yacht Club every week opens up highlighting different folks in the community who've presented their work. And I've seen plenty of Divine Shadow's work. I've seen Hasgaha's work there. And I said, here's two guys that, you know, have different approaches to what they do. HDS was a little, what was the word I want to say? He was a little, not shy about it, but he was like, you know, Griff, I'm not really all into it that much. And I'm like, Yeah, dude, but I dig your stuff. I dig your stuff, so I want you to come on. And he feels, to me, he seems like he's the more casual who just enjoys doing it. Where we know Hasgaha has kind of built a reputation within the community that even I think Abdi mentioned it earlier, where he's put out tutorials, and a lot of us have used those tutorials to learn about how to get better, not just in just Star Citizen, but just in general, how to develop a keen eye for photography. So both of you guys, once again, we appreciate you guys being here. Let's start out with our guests. I'm going to go with HDS instead of saying His Divine Shadow, because I'm going to mess that up at some point. But I am going to ask you, what inspired you to start doing, the digital photography in the game? Any background in photography, passion for it? Did you just start doing it because you saw other people doing it? What kind of got you into taking images?
Well, I never really had like a background in photography. I've always had an interest in art and photography and videography in general. But what really kind of got me into it in Star Citizen was that I kind of discovered the advanced camera controls. So I started kind of messing around with them a little bit and just trying to see what I could really get, and it got some really good results. So I just kind of started doing it. Then, of course, just to give proper respect due to Hasgaha here, after seeing some of the images that he did, he truly inspired me to try to push the limits to go even further, to see what I can do, and other members of the community as well. I've been seeing what they're doing. I watch what other people do, and what they do kind of inspires me as well. As I say, can I do something similar to that, or can I do something that maybe improves upon that, or something that's unique that's not really been seen before? So it's just trying to see what I can accomplish just with the stuff that's in the game. I'm not exactly entirely a purist. Sometimes I'll use maybe a little bit of post processing, but I tend to really just like to use what's possible with the in-game stuff myself, if possible.
Yeah.
But you can get some really good results, and it's one of the few games that's kind of impressive. I've tried other games too in the past, trying to take screenshots and stuff like that, but they don't give you a lot of leeway. So some do, like Cyberpunk. That's one game that really gives you a lot of control and other things too. But I haven't really gotten into taking a lot of imagery with that. I'm mostly into doing so with Star Citizen, if anything.
Now, you talked about you try to avoid that, and I don't mean in the bad way. You say, sometimes you may use post-processing, but in general, you try to get the shot right the way you want it, evidently. Did you have background in using anything like Photoshop or any digital stuff before, or did you get introduced to it once you started doing this?
I've kind of self-taught in a sense,
okay,
just from past experiences. Like I want to be able to do this in Photoshop. Mostly it wasn't anything professional. I was usually doing things for other people to kind of help them do some stuff for their images, and not a lot of my own photography. But I have done some photography on my own, but not something that I always go out and seek out doing. It's something I've wanted to do more, but I just haven't really had the chance to go do it as much as I would like to. In a sense, it's so, like I said, it's something I'm interested in, but it's not something that drives me what I do all the time. Okay. If anything, it's more the digital photography and Star Citizen, and doing other similar things like 3D rendering with certain programs like Blender, or I'm not sure how many people might have heard things like Dash 3D and stuff like that, or Poser and other various things like that too. So like I said, I've always been interested in digital art, and this is just kind of an extension of that for me.
Awesome. Very cool. Thanks. Mr. Hasgaha, I'm gonna go to you next. Same thing. Any background in photography or videography or anything like that?
I've been a professional graphic designer for about over 25 years now. So that's where my training, my professional side lies. And I've been a hobbyist photographer since I was a kid, I guess. I've inherited multiple film SLR cameras. I have a couple DSLRs laying around here somewhere. I'm always taking pictures, but not for clients, not professionally. Sometimes they get used in my graphic design as background textures and color studies and things like that. But no, the photography in real life is just for fun.
Okay. What about, is there any translations from your graphic work into this? Do you feel like that there's some aspects of that you incorporate into it, or do you look at it strictly from from the lens photography side? Is that, or do those cross over to each other a little bit for you?
I'd say they
Mhm.
absolutely cross over.
Mhm.
Things I've learned from art school and graphic design concepts,
Mhm.
color theory, lighting, all that stuff plays composition, framing,
Mhm.
everything plays a part in photography. It's not necessary, but I definitely apply what I know from my jobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The reason why I ask is because when we were doing the machinima, shows, we've got some people, like HDS said, who just they were inspired by it, jumped in it. Maybe they didn't have a lot of background in it, and then there are some people's work. You talk to them and they'll tell you, "Oh, I work for a motion picture company." You could in some ways. Sometimes you see that in the imagery, and sometimes you don't. I mean, sometimes the people who were inspired, they've studied all these other people so well, that maybe their first or second shot isn't there. But I know Fastcard will tell you, we've reviewed so many machinimas, people when it was their first one, and when they're on their sixth or seventh, we see such a grand improvement in what they do. Now it's comparable to the people who may be doing it for a living and career. So that it's interesting to hear about the graphic arts design. And I'm going to jump from you because Abdi smiled when you said that, because Abdi's background is in that area as well. Cove Tipper Virus, thank you for that follow. And HDS, thank you for the 100 bits. We got to make sure Whammer tells you thank you, okay?
Oh,
All right, thank you very much for that. Okay.
there he is. Jesus.
All right. Abdi, let's talk about you. Your background, any background in the area of photography or graphics or art?
Yeah. So I'm a graphic designer. I don't got the 25-year badge, but I do get I have the 10-year badge now. Which is always funny to think about, because whenever they're like, you need at least 10 years experience on an application, in the past I was like, damn, and now I'm like, hey. So that's fun. But yeah, I do that professionally, have been doing that for 10 years. But my interest in photography goes back to when I was a kid. My sister is 5 years older than me, and she is the reason why I do art in the first place. She is a much better artist than me in every way, even though she doesn't do it professionally anymore, or has never. But she inspires me in so many ways. And she had an SLR, and would play around with that, would shoot video in high school and stuff like that. So then when I finally got into high school, when I was a kid, I joined with the photography class like freshman year. And I was just so involved with that eventually I became a peer mentor, and eventually like a TA in high school, like teaching kids during one of my like slots of classes. So darkroom photography is where I come from. I'm a graphic designer now, but I went to school for film and video production. So all of that is super cool to me.
Okay, very cool.
Super cool. There it is.
Super cool. That's your phrase. That's your phrase, right?
That's the phrase. If there's like
Right.
a drinking game out there, you got to do it. But
Griffin, can I interrupt real quick?
Sure.
We're not doing a giveaway today, right?
No.
Okay.
The giveaway
Screamer
thing
just
popped
came
up?
saying, yeah.
Oh, it did?
Elements.
Oh, okay. Y'all ignored that giveaway stuff. Thank you, Fast.
Hey, that Danny Merchant Man.
Don't even say that. Oh my God, don't say that. I'll make sure. I will make sure while Yo-Yo's talking that I go in and disable that very quickly. And I'm going to skip over.
No. So like,
go ahead.
Yeah. Just saying, like, yeah. I'm very much into photography. Still do that for work. Although I'm primarily a graphic designer, I still do video production. I have to kind of be a jack of all trades. At the company that I work at. So photography and videography all goes into that.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. All right, Meg, I'm coming to you now. What's your love or background or interest in how you get this whole thing with photography?
I have a slight background in macro photography, pretty self-taught. Love taking pictures of insects. I'm like an amateur entomologist as well. So got into that for a while. Still into it, but I wait for the summer season when there's a lot of insects out. And I moved like recently, so I lost my patch of dead weeds and stuff where a lot of insects flocked. So I have to find a new one out here in Dallas. But yeah, so with that in regards to Star Citizen photography, I wouldn't say that's what got me into it. I feel like I just really liked the layout of Star Citizen, whether like I'm in a ship or a vehicle on a planet or in space. I kind of just look for things that I think would be fire desktop backgrounds. What got me into messing with the advanced controls with the camera stuff in Star Citizen was Ubdi and Hattori Blade, I believe. And also Griffin, that streamer you were talking about a few weeks ago, that person who their whole stream is basically them talking in third person, right?
And
it's like very cinematic.
Yeah, Brat.
Yes.
Can't think of her name now. You all know. I don't know if you all ever seen her, but she does everything as a role play. She stays
Expat Brat, yeah.
Expat Brat. Thank you. Yeah, Expat Brat.
Yes. Very, amazing work. I'm like blown away every time I pop into the stream. But yeah, basically just I think, was it Hasgaha? I'm already butchering the name.
No, you got it.
Send me the picture, the like cheat sheet basically. So I started messing around with that, and I'm not at all nowhere near where other people are at with screenshots in this game. I don't like use outside sources like Photoshop and stuff like that, but definitely starting to get into it. I would love to get into it more. I think the only issue that I'm running into right now is that whenever I play, I stream, and so I've found that like whenever I'm messing with like the depth of field and stuff, my stream crashes.
That's such a unique bug to me.
Yeah,
I've never heard of that before. I couldn't find anything about it.
I'm not here for the helpful tips and stuff like that. I just wanted to, I'm not sorry, Abdi. I'm not saying you're trying.
No, it's all good.
Yeah, I'm just saying like it's just unfortunate. So I haven't been getting too into it because of that. But in my free time, I've definitely been messing with it, and I feel like I've taken some cool pictures. But I'm definitely super impressed. Every time I scroll through Twitter, my Twitter feed has definitely been a lot of Star Citizen screenshots. I'm glad that my feed's turned into that. It's awesome seeing everybody's how they view the game differently, I guess, the way they take photos. And so I think that's something really that's what really interests me about photography, is because obviously like it's very relative, and that's what makes it so beautiful. And getting to see I'm just like blown away, honestly. Like, how are you taking these pictures in this game? So it's like, I definitely want to get to that point one day.
That's cool.
I gotta say one thing for Meg. She was working on like a mini keyboard, not mini keyboard, but it didn't have the numpad on it. She actually went out and got a numpad just because she wanted to take better screenshots. You know what I mean? I'm like,
That's very cool.
Get it. And then if you join her Discord, she has a channel that has all of her macro photography. It's beautiful stuff. Y'all should check it out.
Very nice. I have to say this. I had no idea. I knew about Ubdi with graphic arts. I didn't know he had a heart and a passion for photography. And same with Yo-Yo. It frustrates me because they're on my team and I don't even know that about their backgrounds. So that means that now I'm going to be sucking them in for whenever I need stuff. I won't go in the game. I'll ask them to go get it for me. So that'll be a new job now. All right.
Contract us with AUEC.
Yeah, I know. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it will be AUEC, not UEC. I can tell you that. All right. So, as for me, my background is a weird background. I started shooting back in, I hate how old I am. I'm the dinosaur in the room, but I started shooting in high school back in 1978. And from there, by the time I went to college, I was at Columbia, studied photography and film, and here in Chicago. My passion was going toward fashion and commercial work. I did that for a very long time. Did a little bit of journalism, but I love doing studio work. And in 2010, right after the crash, I got rid of my studio, and over the next 7 years after that, I got away from photography completely. I shot everything from rangefinders to SLRs, 5.25s, 8x10 cameras, the whole 9 yards. Got into digital when digital was not a thing, and eventually just got to the computer stuff. But then I got away from photography and still had a passion for it. And then when this came up, I ended up joining. I don't know if I'm still a member there or not because I haven't submitted in so long, but I got in Imperial Geographic, the org that's here. And that was going to be my spark to get back involved in doing some photography in the game. They did run a couple of my pieces that I did, but I'm horrible. I'm terrible. So some of the pieces I have are from the work I did there that I didn't submit. but that's been my background in photography over the years. Now, you might say, guys, why didn't I go to Fastcart? Because Fastcart is going to be he's going to be our curator for when we start talking about the images. He's going to curate, and each one of the artists, I'm going to call everybody here an artist, is going to show their work and talk about it, let you know what inspired them to capture that work.
But I'm happy to be here. I get paid by the hour.
Yeah, more AUEC. And so, but before we do that, what we want to do, some of you may not be familiar with doing photography in game, and we're going to show you a little bit of Mr. Hasgaha's video called Star Citizen Camera Controls Tutorial. He put out one several years ago. He recently updated it. I know it's very difficult because stuff in Star Citizen changes so much, but it is a great guide if you're curious. He also has, and I'll let him talk about that a little bit, he does have a shortcut card, which Yo-Yo talked about, that we could definitely print out, have with you, and put to good use, because it is a good point of reference. Thank you, Mr. Hasgaha. We appreciate that.
That was a gift sub, so thanks.
Thrakazog.
Thrakazog hooked you up. Thank you, Thrakazog. Awesome. So I want to let him do a little introduction to this video. We're just going to watch a portion of it. We're not going to show it here because what I want you all to do is go to his link, which we just dropped in for you. I want you guys to check out that video, give it some views, send it to some people, because there are people all the time who ask, which button is for the camera, and how do I do this, and how do I do that? So hopefully you'll pick some of those tips up from this video. But
and definitely check out the description in the video, because I have the PDF for the guide inside the description.
Absolutely.
Just go to his website. He's got like the coolest website. There's like tons of curated
that's in the description too, I think.
Wait, listen, when you all let him plug his stuff, I told him I'm going to let him plug it. Let him plug his stuff. All right. Go ahead, Hasgaha. What do you want to say about the video? Anything else you want to share before we watch it?
Well, I made the video because there were lots of really good tutorials on the camera system, even back when I first made the tutorial. My problem was, though, that they were all maybe 5 minutes long. They either touched on a very brief overview of the entire system, or they focused on pieces of it, but there was nothing complete and in-depth. And so my video is 30 minutes long, or over 30 minutes, and it covers everything that I know about the camera system. So it's really meant for a deep dive, a complete understanding. It's not I'm going to watch this in 2 minutes and understand how to do any of it. It's I need to drill down and figure out how this works and how to better utilize it and get the results that I want. That's why I made that video.
Yeah.
So it covers everything in the camera system.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to take a quick look at that. By the way, guys, I didn't put this announcement out earlier. We changed over to using a different bot. So if you see something kind of weird popping up every once in a while, please forgive us. We're trying to get it all tweaked out. This is our first week using it. You might see some stuff in there about getting points and other things like that, and that's fine. You should be gathering points, but we'll talk about what those will be for a little bit later. So if you see that come up, just so you'll know what's going on, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at Mr. Hasgaha's video, and we'll get things going.
Hey everyone, I'm Hasgaha. It's been a while since I created my original Star Citizen camera tutorial when it debuted in Alpha 2.6. Most of the camera system remains the same, but some things have changed, and I felt it was time to update my tutorial. So, whether you're an in-game screenshotter, videographer, content creator, or just want a better understanding of how it all works, buckle up and get ready for my exhaustive breakdown of Star Citizen's in-game camera system. This is bizarre. I don't know the last time I listened or watched this thing.
I hear yourself talk.
Yeah. I'm only covering the in-game camera controls in this video, and I won't be going into any of my specific techniques, tricks, or tips, but I might mention and link to a few along the way. I will be going into great detail on all the camera options and controls, and referencing real-world photography terms and techniques, as this is meant to be a definitive guide on the entire camera system. Please keep in mind that all of the key bindings I discuss here are based on the default Star Citizen bindings for a standard US or American QWERTY keyboard layout, and while it should be possible to bind some of the camera controls to a gamepad controller, I've never had much luck with it beyond using the thumbsticks for free look. Also, the only camera-related control bound to a gamepad by default is the Cycle Camera View control, so I won't be covering or mentioning gamepad controls in this video. My tutorial is based on the current version of Star Citizen, Alpha 3.10 as of July 2020. Wow. If you're watching this at a later date or patch, please keep in mind things may have changed. If the changes are significant enough, I'll make an updated or additional video, so check my channel for newer versions. Please check the video description for timestamp links to specific topics within this video if you want to jump ahead or revisit certain sections. Some might find it useful to download and print my Star Citizen Advanced Camera Controls one-page reference guide, and have that to glance at as you follow along with this tutorial. The link to my reference guide is in the description below. I'd say you start with that. The first thing I want to clarify is the and then.
What are you gonna say?
I'd say you start with the quick cheat sheet guide, and then if you have questions, then maybe dive into the video, because it's a long video.
Well, we're gonna tell you guys now. If we put the link in there, we're gonna drop the link in again. Go there now, go under his description and more, click on that. Take a look at it while we're watching this. Trust me, it's so helpful. It'll make it a lot easier than try to digest this just from watching the video.
Name of the camera system within Star Citizen. When it debuted in Alpha 2.6, CIG was calling it Director Mode. A patch or two later, all in-game references to it were changed to Advanced Camera Controls, once the redundant chase camera was dropped out of the system. Technically, Director Mode was a specific set of controls within the Advanced Camera Controls while in orbit camera. You'll still hear people, both in the community and CIG, refer to it as Director Mode from time to time. I will not, for simplicity's sake. And in other games, such things are usually called Photo Mode or simply Camera Controls. For me and this video, I will be calling it as it's labeled in Star Citizen key binding menus, Advanced Camera Controls, which are a suite of controls within the broader camera system. Moving on, to help explain the camera system, I break it down into states and modes. There are 3 main states of playing the game with varying camera modes under them. The first state is Character, which is when you're walking around on foot or in EVA, basically whenever you're not controlling a vehicle, turret, etc. The second state is Vehicle, which is when you're piloting a ship, rover, controlling a turret, riding as a passenger, and so on. And the third state is Spectator, which is currently only active in private Star Marine and Arena Commander game modes, which are quicker competitive arena-style matches. Within each of those 3 states you have a few camera modes, which are First Person, Orbit, VoIP Selfie, and in some situations an additional orbit camera, which I'll cover later. Even though the various states share similar camera modes and the different modes share similar features and functions, it's not all universal. What works in Character State Orbit Mode does not necessarily work for Vehicle State Orbit Mode and vice versa. So, back to the 3 states, Character, Vehicle, and Spectator. Let's start with the Character state and work through its camera modes. Most of this applies to the Vehicle state as well. The Character state has 4 different cameras available, but 2 of them are identical in features and functions, they just start at different default positions, so I consider those 2 the same mode. The Character state camera modes are, number 1, First Person, number 2, Orbit Camera, also known as Third Person View, this is where the advanced camera controls live. And number 3 is the VoIP Selfie, which is nothing more than a camera turned back on your character's face, emulating a selfie stick. So let's step through Character State cameras and then break down the tools within the advanced camera controls under Orbit Mode. By default, the Third Person View toggle is the F4 key. F4 is also the Advanced Camera Controls modifier, but we'll talk more about it as a modifier later. The default starting camera mode is First Person View, in which you're looking through the eyes of your character. This has no real camera control to it. Pressing F4 once will take you to Orbit Mode, more specifically the first character Orbit Mode camera called Over the Shoulder, which is the third-person view that allows you to see your character as if you're controlling a floating drone camera. Pressing F4 again from here will take you to the second character Orbit Mode camera, behind the back. And pressing F4 one more time from here will take you back to the beginning with first-person mode.
I'm going to stop for a second. Hasgaha, I want to ask you a question. Is there some method to the madness to why CIG put those 2 in? I mean, is there some difference? Because
no, so I don't know. I mean, I've talked with multiple people in CIG about their camera system, and a lot of this information comes from when you could unpack the data files. Mm-hmm. And look at the XML files, and a lot of this is labeled in there, or at least laid out in a way that I could interpret it. Mm-hmm. But why they have the 2, I'm assuming part of it is a holdover from CryEngine. A lot of this is still kind of carryover from the CryEngine stuff. But the 2 character cameras, I don't know why there's only 1 ship camera. Sometimes actually some ships have 2 as a bug. Mm-hmm. It's all over the place. But
form and function wise, the functions are identical in each one of them, right? One doesn't have something the other one doesn't.
Right. No, they're identical. The only difference is that they start in different positions.
Right. Over the shoulder
so-
versus straight back. Right.
But it controls where the offset is itself. So it
Right.
has actually a different origin point on it.
Mhm. Okay.
But that's the
But
only
that's
difference.
it. Okay. No other create. Okay. Because I just wanted people to know if there was a distinction between the two other than, the positioning. Okay.
Nope.
We're going to say FC?
And I know we haven't gotten to a point yet, but I was just wondering, have you figured out why they put the VoIP camera in?
I don't know. That annoyed me. But
You don't know that either. Okay, all right.
I think
just making sure.
I think they just wanted to promote the fact that they got VoIP in there, and it was.
I have seen it used in a couple of my centers, but rarely.
Well,
Yeah.
expat Brett uses it all the time. When she's running around,
Uses
she
what?
cuts that selfie camera.
Oh,
When she's running around, sometimes she
She
turns the
does,
camera on
yeah.
herself when she's walking
Mhm.
through places and stuff. So, because she doesn't take an angle, she'll do it directly from in front of her. Okay.
I wonder if that's the selfie one or if that's actually like a setup that she has, because that selfie camera looks so goofy.
It's a bit distorted. Yeah. It might be. Maybe she did. Maybe she did do one where she just
I think-
pans it and changes the depth
Yeah,
of field on the
maybe.
camera. Maybe. I don't know.
Well,
I'll
that's
think
what
about
annoyed me about it, is that you could just set up your own selfie camera and save it
Right.
in a saved
Mhm.
camera position. You didn't need a dedicated selfie stick
Yeah.
thing. So
Okay.
it's just
From the default
overcomplicated, an overly complicated system.
First-person view, press F4 once to get into the over-the-shoulder orbit camera. By default, the camera is positioned behind and to the right of your character's head, which is why it's known as over-the-shoulder. I'll be working you through all the fancy controls from this camera mode. Again, technically, the character state has 2 orbit cameras. One is over-the-shoulder, similar to games like Witcher 3, the Batman Arkham series, the Middle-earth Shadow of series, Mad Max, and so on. And the second has the camera positioned straight behind the back of your character. Both of those orbit cameras have the advanced camera controls and have the exact same features, functions, ranges, and limitations. You can move the camera, adjust depth of field, and so on. They are almost identical, other than having different default starting camera positions. And that's why I say the character state has 3 camera modes spread across 4 different cameras. But know that you could also do the same from the second character orbit camera mode, behind the back. All the features, quirks, etc. that I cover here in this orbit camera hold true for the behind the back orbit camera as well, because again they are almost identical. Within orbit mode you can apply vertical, up down, lateral, left right, and longitudinal back forward offsets to the camera to reposition it. You can change focal lengths, which CIG is calling FOV or field of view. You can also change the depth of field or DOF to increase or decrease a blur effect on objects beyond the focal point. You can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, which is actually different than the longitudinal offset and focal length zoom. And you can rotate the orbit camera around its central point for varying angles and views. This is also known as free look. Let's take a closer look at how to use each of those controls. So remember,
So can I
to use
actually stop
advanced
it
camera
there, Griff,
controls in
for a
the
second?
character state, you must
Since most of you actually have much more training and experience as a photographer than I do, I'm really curious to hear how I might have butchered some of these terms and gotten it wrong. So if something is wrong or mislabeled or something, please let me know.
No, I mean, you're
I
using
don't-
both layman terms and professional terms with this stuff, I don't hear anything, that I'd swap out any differently, to be honest with you.
Surely, after 3 years, someone would have posted something in the comments to me already.
Well, there's lots of comments. But
Yeah, I mean, even your expression of depth of field was good because a lot of people don't get, if you want to start talking about apertures and stuff, it gets a little complicated. But the
Yeah.
fact that you gave them the visual thing, they'll get it easier that way than trying to get all into that with light and all the other stuff. It gets to be too much.
be in the orbit camera, either the over-the-shoulder camera or the behind-the-back camera. Now, to use any of the advanced camera controls, with the exception of free look, you must hold the F4 key as a modifier while pressing the actual key assigned to the control. The offset controls are up and down arrows for moving the camera forward and backward longitudinally, left and right arrows for moving the camera left and right laterally, and page up and page down for moving the camera up and down vertically. The offset controls can be held down for smooth movements or tapped for fine adjustments, but we currently have no way of adjusting the speed or increment value of the offsets. The offset controls are relative to the camera view, not your character. That means if you tilt the camera view forward or down looking at the ground while your character is still looking at the horizon, F4 and page up will move the camera forward along the ground and not up away from it. Also, the camera offsets are constrained to an invisible box that is centered to the origin point of the camera. The walls of the offset boundaries box extend roughly 10 meters in both directions on all three axes, lateral, longitudinal, and vertical, meaning we have about a 20 by 20 by 20 meters cube to work in. For example, you can move the camera 10 meters backwards from your character, then 10 meters up, and then 10 meters to the left. This is a more recent change to the advanced camera controls. In the past, the character orbit offset limits were only about 2 meters from the origin point, and the limits were more of a sphere than a square. Now we can push the camera into the corners of the invisible cube rather than the camera rolling back in as it rounds the sphere. Also, you can hold multiple offset direction keys down simultaneously for combined directional movement, like holding F4 and right arrow and down arrow to go diagonally backwards. And again, reset the camera back to default by pressing F4 and the numpad asterisk keys together. Anyway, remember earlier how I mentioned the two character state orbit cameras, over the shoulder and behind the back, and how they have different starting camera positions? Well, these starting camera positions aren't just repositioned offsets. They are completely different camera origin points, which means that because the behind the back camera starts further behind your character than the over the shoulder camera, the offset boundaries box has also been moved back to the center of that origin point. And that means you can actually get the camera slightly further away from your character in the behind the back camera than you can with the over the shoulder camera. As you can see, with the field of view set identically for each camera and using texture on the ground as markers, the behind the back camera can get further from the character on the negative longitudinal axis than the over the shoulder camera. And the inverse is true. The over the shoulder camera can be pushed further in front of your character on the longitudinal axis than the behind the back camera. Another important concept of the use of these offset controls is to understand that the offset controls set the focal point of the camera, which impacts some of the other advanced camera controls. I'll point those out.
This is the deep knowledge that everybody needs to have.
Or field of view control, which basically allows you to step through about 15 lenses with varying focal lengths that change the field of view from wide angle to narrow zoom. I say steps because it is not a smooth transition, as you can see. Again, to use an advanced camera control, you must hold the F4 key while pressing the bound action key. To select wider and wider angle lenses, press F4 and numpad plus. To select a narrower or more zoomed in lenses, press F4 and numpad minus. These controls cannot be held down for smooth continuous transitions. You must tap them repeatedly. Keep in mind, increasing the focal length using F4 and numpad minus narrows the view, magnifies the image, and flattens out objects, while decreasing the focal length using F4 and numpad plus widens the viewing angle and exaggerates objects that are closest to you, almost like a fisheye lens or a hotel door view hole. Next up is depth of field, or DOF, which is a little harder to understand and even harder to control in-game. An overly simplified translation of depth of field is a blurring of objects in front of and behind the focal point, or what's in sharp focus. This is not to be confused with something called bokeh, which refers to the effect produced by the out-of-focus areas beyond the depth of field, or more specifically, the really blurry parts. Technically, depth of field is the distance or zone of acceptable sharpness within a photo that will appear in focus. A higher depth of field means more of the image will appear in sharp focus, and a lower depth of field means a much smaller range of the image will be in focus. Also, the lower the depth of field, the higher the blur effect for objects furthest from the focal point, in both directions. So first, here's how to do it in-game. Remember, we're still in the character state orbit cam because we're using advanced camera controls. While holding F4, press home to decrease the depth of field, which will reduce the range of sharp focus, blurring objects in front of and behind the focal point. While still holding F4, keep tapping home to continue decreasing the depth of field and increasing the blurriness. To increase the depth of field, which again is increasing the range of sharp focus and decreasing the amount of blur, hold F4 and tap the end key. Like field of view, you have to step through these changes by tapping the keys. You cannot smoothly and continuously transition through the changes by holding the keys down. Also, the default starting depth of field value is an infinite depth of field, meaning everything is in focus. So maybe you're asking yourself, how do I work with depth of field? The three factors that affect depth of field in real-world cameras are aperture or f-stop, distance from the subject to the camera, and the focal length of the lens. We have no control over aperture in game, so forget that one. We can control the distance from the subject by either moving our character or using the offset controls to move the camera. And we can control the focal length by changing lenses, also known as the field of view. What makes depth of field difficult to control in-game is that we have no way of arbitrarily setting the focal point. For example, in a real camera you can pick a point to focus on by focusing the lens, either manually or automatically, whether it's 3 feet from the camera or 30 feet. In-game, the focal point is set within the invisible 20 by 20 by 20 meters offset boundaries box. We can, however, move the focal point around within the box with the offset controls, but we can never set the focal point outside of the box. That means we can't focus on a distant object in the background while blurring the foreground. Changing focal lengths, also known as the field of view, will also have an effect on the amount of blur on objects outside the depth of field. Using a longer, zoomed focal length will increase the blurriness of objects outside the depth of field. As a quick example of putting the depth of field together with the other controls, get into orbit mode and reset the camera to its defaults by pressing F4 and the numpad asterisk together. To make the blur effect more noticeable, I'm going to increase the focal length or decrease the field of view by tapping F4 and numpad minus a few times. Now hold F4 and tap the home key about 11 times until you hit the maximum depth of field blur, meaning you now have the smallest depth of field range. Depending on what is directly in front of your character, almost everything will be out of focus. Now we'll use the longitudinal offsets to move and find the focal point. While holding F4, tap the down arrow to move the camera offset backwards. As I do so, you'll notice my character becomes less blurry. That's because by default the focal point starts just in front of your character, and by using the backward offsets, I'm not only moving the camera but the focal point backwards as well. And the focal point is now passing over my character, causing it to be within the focus depth of field. Because we don't have control over the speed at which the offsets change, getting the focal point to rest on a specific object can be difficult. But if you tap the up and down arrows while holding F4, eventually you can get it. In my example, the focal point is now on my character's back. Now you can start to increase the depth of field by tapping F4 and the end key together, which again will expand the depth of field, reducing the amount of blur. For a more detailed example, check out my Using Depth of Field in Star Citizen video linked in the top right of this video and also in the description below.
We're going to stop it there because that's what we want you to do. We want you to go to the video. And I agree. Depth of field is one of the coolest things that you can do, but it is also one of the biggest pains in the neck when you try to do it in this game. It is. Yeah, I agree. It's great when you get it. What's even worse is when you get it, you accidentally hit it and knock it off. It's, oh, Jesus.
Yes. There was a shot that I was going to add to the shot list today that I gave you, Griff, that I took just on Friday. And then like I thought that I captured it. I thought it was perfect. I stopped playing. I go to my folder to check it, and it was just soft. Just soft enough to not use it. I'm like, oh man, now I can't use this thing. Dang it.
I understand.
Can I just say that I watched the video in its entirety earlier today, and I felt like I attended a 6-week photography summer camp, but it only took 30 minutes.
I was about to say, he just brought me back to high school.
Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to pass this over to Fast Cart now. He's going to moderate. We're going to let you guys see everyone's work here. That's what I'm going to tell you. You're going to see everybody's work here. So we're going to, Fast Cart is on you.
All right, so I guess we're starting with Abdi Johan for his first work. I think each person has eight pieces that they submitted. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, cool. So the first piece, what can you tell us about it?
This is maybe less about the shot composition and more about just the cool ship aspect of it. I'd never flown a Reliant series until this shot, which was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And like that initial flip when you go from the landing gear and then flipping it, I was just like, oh, the cool factor. And I was like, I need to take this thing out and take some shots with it. And Microtech with the clouds, it gives you the most like scenic. I mean, if you like Hurston, that's cool, I guess, but Microtech gives you the most like kind of true to earth scenic views. So I flipped that Reliant, and then I took that shot, and I was super happy with it, getting a little bit of the engine trails in there too.
So I have a question about this shot though.
Yeah, tell me.
We can't roll the camera in game. So how did you get?
Yeah, you can.
With FOIP?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I was asking.
That was the
If you did
cheat.
this in
That was
post, or
the
if you
cheat.
just tilted your
You
head.
cheated.
That was the cheat. Yeah.
Not cheating. Cheating would have been doing this in post because
Yeah.
you would have had to zoom
Right.
in.
I
And
know, I'm
like,
messing with you.
Yeah.
I'm messing
so
with
like,
you.
so one of my favorite things is I use a C922. I don't even have like a Toby. I don't have a whatever the heck the other thing that clips on is.
Yeah.
I just have a C922 Logitech camera, super cheap. Not super cheap. It's cheaper than all the other stuff. It's like $50.
Yeah.
And I have a light here from Amazon that's like $10. That's on top of my DSLR. So that lighting gets you like faster shutter speed, so that you can have less stuttering when you're using your FOIP. So I turn that on, and then there's a new control. I think it's new. Hasgaha, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but there's a new control where you can now set whether your third-person camera is connected to FOIP or not. So like I turn on my camera, but then like when I'm flying, I can like turn that one on specifically so that I can lock it, to my flying, or lock it or unlock it for FOIP. So you'll see me doing that a lot on stream, like looking like this and flying at the same time and spamming my screenshot button. So that's how I got this one.
So you were more inspired by the ship more than it was the scenery at that moment. I mean, you were really digging
the
the ship
ship
you
and
said,
the
pretty much.
scenery.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, definitely more than just like, actually it was just that.
Okay.
I love this ship. It looks so cool to me. The lighting on it, it gives me the Star Wars vibes. And they do a really good job with that in this game.
Nice.
All I gotta say for that one is fabulous. Okay, so the next one, you want to give us the description of this one?
Yeah, so this is a shot on.
Yellow.
Oh frick, where is it? It's yellow. Yeah, it's the one in Crusader. That's yellow, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Has to
So yeah, I was just flying along, really kind of bored during my stream because I was looking for Quantanium with my prospector, and I wasn't finding anything. But of course, I try to head towards the sun so that I can know that I'm not retracing any steps or anything like that. And at the same time, I was just like, oh, I need to get a shot here, just because I think it was a sunrise. It might have been, I think it was a sunrise that I was flying into.
Yeah.
But I for this one, I took the focal length, sent it back, and tried to capture like a nice, like if I was using a telephoto lens, getting a nice landscape shot.
Yeah, I'm really sensing a J.J. Abrams vibe here with the lens flare. So good job with that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of I do a similar thing to his Divine Shadow because I do this with my photography as well. I try to get the right shot right away. Like I don't do a ton of post processing, even though I use Photoshop, I use all that other stuff. But I just like getting a clean, nice shot from the get go, and then just kind of leaving it there. Mostly because I do this stuff like for work, so I'm like I don't want to jump into my work stuff when I'm
Find yourself working. Yeah.
when I'm just playing. Yeah. So yeah. Okay. Anyway, I should probably move faster through these.
Very nice.
Yeah, all I gotta say for that one is fantastic. Okay,
nice.
so what about this one?
This one, this isn't even a particularly great shot, but it was a staff pick and my only staff pick. So I
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. I just recently started posting to the community hub intentionally, I guess. I think I did one way long ago. But yeah, this one got a staff pick. And I think one of the things that I do like about this is if you zoom in, I'm not asking you to zoom in, but if you do, the character is actually pretty in focus despite everything being very out of focus. And then the strange bokeh kind of effect that you get from the lights traveling in quantum. So this cutter is currently in quantum right now. So you can see the stars kind of streaking by.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got a question for you guys, for the panel. I'll ask you, I guess in particular. How do you guys feel? There are some shots you can pull off. How can I say this? There are some shots that look cinematic.
Yep.
Then there are some shots that look like you're shooting a model toy. The detail is so clear. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Where it's almost like if the depth of field is done to a certain point, it's like it stands out so much that it looks like It looks like I've taken a picture of a
like product photography.
yeah, like product photography. Yeah. I mean, how do you? I mean,
that's what it is,
I
I
like
think.
both to a certain degree because when it gets to that level, usually the detail is just so much, but it also gets to be a little unrealistic, for lack of a better term. I don't know. I mean, how do you guys feel about those type of shots? Because this is kind of reminding me of that, where, like you said, that focal point is right there for the pilot, but it blurs out so much around it.
So I mean, like, that's why this isn't one of my favorites, is because this is like, there's so little that's actually sharp in the picture, and I think it feels a little overwhelming to me. I'm not sure why CIG picked it. But they did.
No,
so
I'm not thinking it's a bad shot. I'm just saying there's a difference, and I'm just kind of curious as to what you shoot for. Do you shoot for more cinematic, or do you look for the detail at that level?
So, like, since like film is now the thing that I do the most, that's cinematic is what I like to go for, and you'll see that in some of my other shots. But this one is definitely feels like, you know, maybe like a Hot Wheels in a product photography, like lighting bin or something like that, with a camera that has like extreme control over depth of field and stuff like that.
All right, I'm running out of adjectives, so let's go to the next one. Oh, okay.
This is my REM. There's me in the corner shot, basically. Yeah, I was just walking through Lorville, and I took this shot, and it just looked like the lighting was coming from so many different directions. I mean, one thing that you think about when doing photography is you have your key light, you have your fill light, and you have your backlit shot. So this has lighting in so many different directions, and it felt dystopian. It felt like a noir kind of thing. Like, I don't know, like, and it was another dumb thing where I was just running from the Habs to, you know, wherever, and I just so happened to be wearing the clothes that I like to wear in the game, and it just felt right to me. So yeah.
I have a question. So you said you were running through the Hab and you saw a light and decided to take a picture. So how long did it take you to set up the shot?
Long enough where I actually wasn't intending to get these two guys in the background. The NPCs just started like, and then they kind of stuck there together, and I was like, well,
okay.
Now that I have my shot, I guess I got to get them in it. But it ended up kind of working because now it looks like there's something shady.
No, it does. It does. I think it would have been feeling a little empty because there's depth there because of it being out of focus, which makes it nice, and it fills in that area. I mean, don't get me wrong. If it was just him by himself, that's fine. But there is something more story there for me than if it was just him there by himself, you know.
And subconsciously, I think the reason why I asked you how long it took you to get the shot, because it looked like you did you took the shot with them on purpose rather than they just came in by accident. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, I originally took the shot because of the lighting, but then when I saw them there, I was like, this all kind of works. So yeah, that's like, photography is just a bunch of happy accidents. A lot of the time.
Hasgaha, Divine Shadow, have you guys ever had situations where, and this is one of the things I love about, you know, sometimes people think that Chris is and CIG are just too much on the details, right? You know, they're more about the gameplay and all this other stuff. But when you do stop to look at the details, and Abdi caught it here, because I've done this before where I've gone into a bar or some room to take a shot. And then all of a sudden I realized that the poster on the wall is putting out a certain color that's bouncing off my character. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden it brings a whole different thing than if it was just the flat lighting that's coming from the ceiling. Have you guys ever had that experience in any of the shots where you've kind of noticed that?
So part of the
wait, that's for Hasgaha. That's for the guests. That's for the guests. That's for the guests. Because you have it in your shot here. The left side of his face is doing that, and that's what I'm asking them. Have they ever had that in their shots before?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There are places where I think the lighting is awful. It's harsh. It's drastic. But then you get just instances like this shot, and the lighting is perfect. It's beautiful. It's amazing.
Shadow, what were you going to say?
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, so for me, it's kind of the same. I actually kind of try to look for some of these. If I'm going out with the intention to shoot something, I look for that particular lighting that's not harsh like a lot of lighting is in the game. And where you do get those reflective shots or like certain color lightings that the lighting team had put in like an area. You look kind of silly standing in the corner for a long time trying to get that shot. But it's hard to get decent lighting or the type of lighting effect that you might be looking for in a lot of instances. One of the things I wish that they would have in game would be like a photography studio that you had things like green screens or white backgrounds or other lightings that you could control. But maybe some days, I know that would
Just
be
a
priority.
portable light that's bigger, better than the hand stick flare things.
Right.
Right.
Those aren't really good.
Yeah, because there are those times where you wish you could come up with a feel. You know, the light, the shot, everything's right, but you either you want the color or that feel that just brings it out a little bit more, so you don't have to go in post to try to push the image. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty cool. Good shot, Abdi.
I
Really
love
good shot.
I love John Page's comment. He made a comment saying, in the future, the fall of the discussing a new TV show, 600 years, the fall of the Kardashian dynasty. So that's what those two are discussing. So tell us about this.
It's, I guess, I don't know why I chose this one, actually, now that I think about it. I think what I really like about this is that oftentimes you're trying to make sure that you're shooting with the light coming towards you, or not coming towards you, but that you're well lit from the other side of the sun. But with this one, you get a little bit of that, just like that halo ring, or like the cresting of the sun over the planet, and just enough of it is well lit. And like I said, I don't do any post processing, so I just like I liked how this kind of looked at the time, and I just like flying my Pisces with that red paint. So it's just kind of like enough that is being lit here that I feel like there's enough interesting detail to see.
I think that's perfect timing and perfect shot. I like it.
Sometimes it just works out.
If you were presenting this in a film school, I would say your subconscious saw a whole bunch of circulars. You said the station, the Corona, you've got the Corona of the station, you've got the lights on your ship, you've got the curve on the back door of the ship. There's a whole lot of form here that's all meeting there, subconsciously. So it's a very cool shot.
And there's other shots. Like I'm like a lot of photographers now that we're in digital, like when I used to shoot in physical, you had to be so, at least when I was in high school, because we were literally like cutting our own film and using it that way and knowing how much we had. But now that it's digital, I'm just like spamming, and I'm like, moving the, incrementals. Like there's a different version of this exact same shot where it's not as lined up. But because we have the advantage of that,
cool.
You can try again.
Yeah, very cool.
One thing I just want to say real quick is, and I can say it, I guess, here, is that we talk about lighting almost as if the lighting just kind of happens in this game, but the lighting is so very intentional by the game developers. There are people whose entire job is just to think about where a light goes and how it makes things look. And like, hats off to those devs, because honestly, this game is so beautiful because of that. You turn that stuff off and then it looks like you're in a freaking office building with fluorescent lighting, and it's just the worst. So that's kind of to go along with this shot, which it felt like a concept art. I was running Quantanium to a refinery, and I was just exploring, running around, and then I got this shot, freaking maxed out from how far back you could go, and then using the just trying to get like as far back as I could with the range and the focal length, and it just felt like a concept art piece. Like I could see the drawing of this before it was actually created. And that just felt really cool, because I'm a concept art lover. I have concept art books from Sparth and all sorts of illustrators, because I do illustration myself too, and this stuff inspires me.
Very nice, bro. Very nice.
Cool.
I need to stop talking.
You're okay. You're okay. Okay, I know you had something special with this one, so let me know when you want me to bring the other one up.
Yeah, so this is the original shot that I took, and I took it, and it just felt like an ad. So feel free to go to the next one. So I just turned it into like a quick, I literally it was like a 20-minute lunch break thing that I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna take this and just turn it into a Kovalex ad for, like a job ad that you would see posted up on, a job board somewhere. Join up with Kovalex shipping and get that hazard pay.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, so this one is uncharacteristically, I did some post processing, of course, just in terms of like cutting out the subject, keeping their color grayscaling, and then taking the vector logo for Kovalex shipping. Actually, I don't think it was vector, but I think it was high enough res where I take my shots in 4K so that I have as much that I can
get as much detail as you can. And by the way, just so you'll know, there's no shame in that, because if you were doing an ad, you definitely would have been doing post-processing on it. So that
for sure.
That's what would have happened,
right,
you know.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Great stuff, Abdi. Great stuff.
Thanks. Cool. Oh, that was the last one?
That was 8. You're supposed to be moderating. It's on you. I'm not counting. I'm just pushing buttons.
All right, so let's go with Meg. Yo, Meg, tell us about your first one.
Yeah, I think I was at Xenothreat and I lost my engines. So I was just spinning out, and I thought that this was a pretty cool shot. This is one of those, like Abdi was just talking about, you just spam screenshot. And yeah, I have like 50 photos, not 50, maybe like 10. And I picked this one because you can see the other ships flying, some missiles coming. I'm losing control. And I love the Scorpius, so I just thought this was a really cool shot.
Listen, don't tell anybody about the lost engine thing. I thought you did this like just straight, you know.
On purpose, right? I thought it was it.
I was like, oh wow, that's pretty cool. No, but
I didn't have my drone to repair.
Yeah, but it was opportunity.
Absolutely,
that was great. It was very cool. I love it.
It's so cool. I love this shot. I haven't seen this before. This is amazing.
Meg, I do have a question for you as one of our newest members of our community. When you hear that, were you aware or have you heard of Star Citizen being a screenshot simulator before, or that you just heard it tonight for the first time, or what is that reputation for you?
Yeah, I've heard it a lot, and I myself call it screenshot simulator a lot. I actually, whenever I try to get people to sign up for the game, it's one of the game loops I feel like is Star Citizen. Like, if you don't feel like you can do FPS missions or I don't know, anything else really, like there's always exploration. And so just being able to like take those screenshots, I think is worth $40 in and of itself. There's so many different places that you can explore. I mean, the game is just so crazy. Like the fact that I know you said not to say it, but the fact that I'm losing my engines and missiles are flying and the Cuddy is here. And there's probably a whole Idris behind me. And yet there's somebody at Crusader doing a bunker mission right now. And like the quality is just all there in one server. It's insane to me. So I definitely think screenshotting and exploring is a whole game loop that is worth at least $40, if not more.
Okay, cool. Thank you. All right.
Oh yeah.
Tell us about this one.
So yeah, actually going off of what I just said, I've been doing a lot of exploring with my fiance, and we've been doing a lot of just exploring in mining. So this is us in a Nomad with our Pembroke suits. And I took this photo of her on the bed, just hanging out. I thought that the suit, honestly, there are more photos of this as well. It just gave me like Borderland vibes within Star Citizen. It was like, I couldn't believe like the quality around the character, and yet the character just looks so different. And I thought that the colors just popped so well in the lighting within the Nomad. Yeah, it looked really cool to me. And like I said before, like I like trying to take photos for my desktop, and this is definitely something I could put on my computer and enjoy looking at.
You know, one of the things that I have to say this, when I saw the work that everybody submitted for today, it's an injustice to look at it at this size, because the detail in all these shots, you can't appreciate it. It's not completely there. I could remove all of our faces and make it a little bit bigger, but you know, I don't want to do that per se, because I want you to know who's speaking. But believe me, these shots are really, really good when you see the full version of them.
Yeah, are these in 4K or 1080p or?
I honestly have no idea. I'll say not 4K.
I think
not 4K.
Meg,
Okay.
you said that you play in 2K, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
So then yeah, I would assume that these are 2K shots, which is huge. Still amazing. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, nothing wrong. I was just curious. All right, so tell us about this one.
This one, I as well was still exploring with my fiance. We were hunting for sunsets. We kept chasing the sun, which again is another just amazing part of this game. Like the fact that the sun is constantly moving, or maybe not the sun, but
the star, Stanton, we get you. We get you.
Same thing.
Everything is moving. Yeah, like we can sit here and try to take screenshots, but we only have X amount of time before it's going to start to get dark. And so, yeah, I was just messing with depth of field. This is sort of like we may or may not get to more pictures where I start to actually mess with the depth of field a little bit. Like I said before, like unfortunately my stream starts to crash whenever I try to mess with it while I'm playing. But yeah, this one was pretty cool. I thought the Cuddy Red just looked really cool with the depth push back or whatever is the correct terminology for that. Yeah, just like the character all in black running towards Cuddy Red.
I love the rescue being framed in there too.
Yeah.
Very nice.
That's one thing we haven't really talked about yet recently is like golden ratio and stuff like that, like the 3/4 perspective and
We have a whole conversation about that. You know that. Oh my God.
That's going over my head, buddy.
But there's all sorts of reasons why like a person or a character being placed where it is and all that kind of stuff ends up working so well with this. And that's when you start like hitting that is when you see your shots. Sometimes it's just like you just feel it, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, this is another one from I think the same event. Messing with depth of field again. I really like these pictures in real life where there's like layering. You can like tell that there's actually depth to where you are. So like like I said, I love these pictures in real life, getting just to see maybe not pictures, but actual landscape in real life. Seeing how just far out mountains are compared to what's in front of you, and just watching them get deeper and further away. And so thought it was really cool that I was running up this hill actually, and just like I said, like chasing the sun, and I was met with just this view and messed with depth, and I thought that this came out pretty cool. It's me staring out towards the sun.
And one of the great things about this picture is that people who are new to the game may not realize it, but that mountain in the far background, they can actually go to that mountain. It may take them a while, depending on how to travel there, but they can actually reach that mountain too. So yeah, a lot of people who start the game think that that's just a background, but no, that's an actual location.
I come from Destiny 2, and Destiny 2 has some of the best skyboxes in any video game, but they're skyboxes. They're just illustrations and really great ones, and sometimes 3D rendered and all that. But the fact that Star Citizen can make that happen even at this scale is so cool.
Yeah.
Cool, Paul. Can you tell us about this one, please?
Yeah, so once again, that right there is my fiance posing next to a huge rock. We were actually rock mining, and this gigantic rock was out there, and so she just stood next to it and took a picture.
At least the rock wasn't floating like it can be sometimes.
When I first saw this, I didn't see your partner standing there. I just saw the rock. I was like, why should you take a bit? Then when I blew it up, it was small. I was looking at this little thumbnail. And then when I opened it up, I said, oh, it's a nice perspective thing there. It's really cool.
Yeah, cat for size.
It looks
very
like
cool.
almost like a religious place. Like this is the Church of Jesus or something like that. Like, I feel like I could see
Have
this.
you been to Benny Hinn's?
Yeah, that's nice. That's
Yeah,
nice.
right, yeah. That's a different kind of religion.
Nice.
That was my first Star Citizen retweet too.
Oh.
They retweeted my photo on Twitter.
Nice.
Dang,
I didn't remember that. Yeah.
That's dope. I'm still looking for that golden retweet someday.
You're gonna get it.
All right, so tell us about that. That's Stanton.
Yes, this one was just flying over and saw the landscape. It just looked like waves of dirt, and I thought that it looked really cool. And with Crusader in the background, just snapped the screenshot. I also really like near like the bottom left. It just gives me like dinosaur bone vibes. Like that's a huge creature that's actually like unearthed right there. I don't know, just really cool.
Wouldn't that be nice, Yo-Yo, if we had creatures like that in the game?
Oh my God! Don't get Griffin started. No, I was going to say the Stanton looked. Normally you can't really see it, but in this picture, Stanton really looked bacony in that shot.
Or Crusader.
Crusader, I saw it, yeah. Crusader looked like a bacon in that shot. I didn't even.
Don't talk to me about the bacon ball.
Yeah, I didn't even. Never even thought about that until someone mentioned it to me a few weeks ago.
I almost
What were you gonna
forgot
say?
about the bacon, and then you just.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
I'm always amazed at though because Crusader, you can catch Crusader in daylight, you can catch it at night. It always looks different for everybody's shot who puts it into me. With it being a big gas giant. I mean, most of us remember when it was nothing more than something you couldn't fly to, but but there is something different about knowing that that actually exists out there, when you see it. I can't tell how many times I've been on Daymar, walked out of a hab or something and look up and you see Crusader, hanging out there. It's, for full influences of imagery and photography, it's just, I'm sure everybody here at some point has stopped and literally stared, whether it was a sunrise, a sunset or something, which not too many games make you do that. You get used to it, but you still find yourself doing it.
I'm still not used to it.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, okay. Tell us about this one, please.
Yes, this is me and my partner's mixtape cover right here.
What is the name of the group? What is the name of the group?
I don't know.
Double dogs. It's double dogs. Don't even lie, Meg. It's double dogs.
Meg, talk a little bit about the benefit of being able to use those sticks for your color, because that's a technique to do that, right? Because you don't have the luxury, like Hasgaha was saying earlier. It's not like you can bring some light in and put it underneath there to do that, but you use something that was in game.
Yeah. I don't know. At this time, I'm blanking on how to answer this question, but.
Was it deliberate? Were the sticks deliberate?
It was definitely deliberate, just to be able to tell us apart. I don't know. She's wearing she loves pink, full out pink outfit right here. Besides, I think the undersuit, and I had a pink flare on me, so I gave her that, and then I had the not opposite color, but a different color, so I just popped that on. I just thought it just added a different vibe to us running around.
Yeah. But it was also a way for you to introduce color into your shot that wasn't naturally there, which is really cool. And it's something for players to think about. How do you use the environment? How do you use the tools that are in the game to get, maybe a shot that you weren't thinking about? Because Ubdi said it earlier, if you remove the lighting in this game, stuff just looks bland. But we're lucky that the artists have placed so many reflective things and items that maybe you can put to use for some form,
And we're lucky that reflecting that actually work in this game too, because there was a while when they weren't in the game.
Yeah.
So yeah,
very, very cool, very nice.
And this is number 8, I believe. Oh, okay, cool. I like the color of that 600.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool paint. I don't even know where you get that. You must be.
It's called. You had to spend a lot of money.
Yeah. Pete the Saber Raven right to the right as well. So we actually put on like a little, I guess a ship show. We were trying to find a random place. Abdi was there too. We were trying to find a random place just to call home, I guess, and just like run missions and like keep going back. But it ended up just being like a ship show. We just kept pulling more and more ships and just wandering around. There's so many shots from this day. Shout out to Hotori Blade. She came out too, super cool photographer, posts a lot of shots on Twitter, and this is actually Hattori trying to punch me, and I'm trying to block. And of course, got that golden 600i in the background. Pretty cool.
It just looks like such a scrappy picture. I love it.
Right.
You're all just fighting out there, even though you got your like big money ship in the background.
That's what they're fighting over, is the ship.
There you go.
That's what they're fighting over. Very cool. Man.
Oh, that was a cool set. That was number 8.
Good
All right,
stuff.
so Griffin, I believe you're up next.
Okay.
What did we got?
Next, I don't know. Let me see. Got to remember what I put down. Okay. This series, I think everything in here was a part of the series I did. I mentioned earlier, I was shooting for Imperial Geographic. This was all a series I did called Noir. I decided to shoot everything black and white in here. And so, when you're shooting it in the game, obviously your screen's not black and white. So you have to be thinking about what are those things that can stand out. And definitely with the idea of noir, you mentioned this earlier, Ubdi, there's a whole theme of what noir images look like. And there's a starkness to them. And so I tried to convey that as best I could. So here you've got obviously the lighted aspects of the suit, both in the helmet and the torso piece. And then there's also to the left and right, there are the stars in the background, and try to create some space of darkness separating, the subject in the middle. But even the reflection that's on the helmet over the left eye, there's just these different dynamics of things that light up that.
I just want like a little bit of lipstick to write like from Stanton with love.
yeah, I could do that.
So I asked Meg this question, but I want to ask the people who've been with the community longer. So what do you think of the reputation of Star Citizen being a screenshot simulator? Does it make you resentful because Star Citizen is so much more than that? Or you say, oh, that's cool. That's something that may bring people into the game. What do you... Abdi, Griffin, Hasgaha, his Divine Shadow.
You're asking us that question? Are you asking us that question?
Yeah, asking you, yeah.
Oh, can we do that after we do the pictures then? Because I want to get through the pictures. Is that okay?
Oh, okay.
I mean, when we get through everybody's pictures, we can address that. Because I think it's people, after we see it, we can talk about it.
Okay, cool.
This here, that's a shame. I think this was on a Carrack.
It is
for sure.
It is in the drone room, right?
Yes, that's the drone room.
And as you guys know, the drone room's lighting is horrible. It's not a lot of light in there. So, again, trying to use this darkness of different shades of grays and blacks and whites and all that stuff. It was just one of those shots that I said, and it was also a throwback here. I know this might have been somewhat subconscious, but you guys remember in Alien, the, what did they call that guy? The one that was in the chair? The
mother or
no, in the original film, what's it called?
The astronaut or
that was sitting in the big chair that was reclined. The engineer.
Yep.
Yeah, I kind of thought about that a little bit with the curvature and everything of sitting in the chair like that. So it was just kind of in the back of my head somewhere. But that's on the Carrack in the drone room.
I like that. I know we're trying to get through, but I like that shot because it feels kind of art housey to me. Like instead of being like super well lit, there's like aspects of it that I feel like it feels intentionally dark, and it adds to the moodiness of it.
And to be honest with you, that was part of it, was the challenge of saying, how can I take a room that most of us would just walk in and walk out of and find something that might look interesting, if you look at it with detail. And that was the other thing too, trying to bring out details was another factor in here too,
I've tried to shoot that room so many times because I think it's so atmospheric and great, but it is so difficult. I've failed every single time.
It's tough. It is tough. This was, obviously the multi-tool in certain days, it didn't work. It didn't do anything other than put out light. And I was trying to figure out a way, how do I use this thing? So it's not like it's putting off any smoke or anything down there when it's hitting the ground. But, I wanted to do this idea of doing some type of labor out in the field. And instead of this, I think this might've been even before we got rocks to break. It had to be, because I would have done it on a rock that could have been breaking. So this was in the early days of using the laser cutter, I think was probably what I was using there. But it was just something else to try, nothing special about it other than just a little bit of gray. I didn't want to go stark black and whites. I really did kind of want it to be a little muddled in the background, and hopefully that the person working would stand out a little bit more from that.
I think you succeeded in that.
Well, I hope so. This one here is another one. I think this was on Aberdeen. Black and white. You guys know Aberdeen's got that just total orangish sulfur color to it. This was trying to figure out how to go somewhere differently with it. So I decided to take it black and white obviously with the trees. You got the craggy trees. And the roughness of those going against the smooth lines of the 890 and the design, trying to come up with some contrast there. The clouds, I couldn't get them to come out the way I wish I could have made them a little bit more like if you're using like a filter. I can't think of the filter you use.
Neutral.
Yeah, that brings out your colors a little bit more. I couldn't do that. A good infrared filter would have been great, but I don't have that luxury in the game right now.
Yeah.
Is it because of the cloud tech or something?
No, it's just when you use an infrared or red filter, it makes black and whites stand out like infrared. It makes it stand out stronger. But I didn't want to do any post production. So there's no post production on this other than me just sucking the color out and going black and white on it. So that was
what I like about this
Cool.
picture is that it feels like, you know, like when you go to a museum, like, or art museum or whatever, and you see a photo series, like sometimes there's just an obvious theme here, and the contrast that I'm getting and that the black and whiteness is allowing this to communicate is that you have like decrepit nature with like exotic and like exquisite mechanical nature. It's such a good like contrast between the two, and I love that it kind of like the mechanical nature of it is like popping out from the decrepit nature of it. It's great.
I feel like I really am in a museum here. People talking about art pieces and like using all these big words and whatnot.
This one here.
Oh, okay.
I wish I could blow this up because it that size you're not seeing it, but this really this one was about the detail. I was really surprised when you see this full size, and Hasgaha's got one later that's a amazing shot when it comes to detail. But it's easy to not notice how much work, you said this earlier, Abdi, you talked about lighting, how much work CIG has put into clothing, armor. The details are ridiculous sometimes, and this is one of them. There's textures in the shoes, different type of textures in the pants, the jacket, even with the different color areas of the jacket. Some of them have smooth areas, some of them have look like with scaling. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Even the garbage that's on the floor of the tram that's in Hurston, good old Hurston. Just little things that you see, but unfortunately, this is one of those shots that it needs to be blown up because it's really more about the detail. I'm getting tired of that pose personally, but the detail is what it's about for the character. This one. I shot this and converted this into black and white because there was a part of me that said if you don't look at it well enough, you won't see that there's a dead person laying down there. It could blend into the rock itself to a certain degree. And as those of you who've been down there before, you know that's one of the missions where you have to go find the dead body that's somewhere down in the cave. And that's all that is really. The light that's there is the light that's coming off my helmet. So there you go, using the lighting that's in the game to illuminate it, because normally it's pitch black when you're down there. But just decided to use that as a highlight or a spotlight on that body. And just the starkness of black and white. I really want to push it a little bit more, but yeah. It's only so much you can do, unfortunately. You can't control light the really way, especially in a cave. There's not a lot you can do in a cave.
No.
Okay, this is when you can get to use a good game glitch. Because as you guys know, Tessia Pacheco, yeah, exactly. You know, it was because I came in the room. She came over, yeah. But there was a day, a particular time when there was a glitch going on and her character was not sitting in her chair, but she was sitting a couple meters away from that chair and standing next to one of the guards that stands there. And so I just tried to frame it out as quickly as I could and get it and see if there was anything I could do with it with the lighting. I started to do a little bit of post on this and do a little dodging on him to bring him out, but then I chose not to. I just decided to keep it the way it was. To his Divine Shadows point, you know, this was just one of those ones where I just said, let me just leave it, you know, the way it is. But I just wanted to capture a different positioning of the characters. Because as you guys know, Twitch stays in her chair. She doesn't get up.
I feel like it says something though, because she was more illuminated than him, and
yeah,
she's the top of the rock.
And,
so
and the other thing is
power.
and that illumination is coming from the distance. It's coming from the lighted signs and stuff from the buildings. Because again, you have no way of controlling light in that area, so it's unintentional in the sense of that's not where the artist wanted it to be, because she'd normally be in her chair. Because in her chair she's lit, you can see her, but that lighting that you do see is coming from the buildings off to the right. And then last but not least, this is one that was about depth of field. You guys know that illuminated neon sign back there. That actually leads back to where Twitch is. As I was coming out, my character was there. One of the things that's actually cool that I don't know if it was at this time. You guys know that there's a lot of clothing in Star Citizen that's illuminated. It has its own lights on it, not just armor. And so those glasses there have an illumination, a neon illumination to them. The jacket does as well. I wish I had that shirt underneath at the time, but I don't think the shirts at the time when I shot this had the light up shirts. But I was just trying to pull the whole idea of neon lighting from the written sign in the background all the way to what she was wearing as well. And yeah, that's it. So that's the series on Noir. Those are the rejects. Those aren't the ones I put that got published. Those are my rejected ones. Those are the ones I didn't put in. Yeah, I didn't use these. No, I used a whole different set of images for that went into the magazine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I looked that you presented a series though. That's really cool. I didn't even think about taking it that direction. That's awesome.
No problem. Okay.
All right, so Hasgaha, what did we got?
Nope. His Divine Shadows next.
Nope.
Are you looking at the docket? Or are you just looking at the screen?
I'm looking at the thing. Yeah, fine.
Yeah, it's the best.
His Divine Shadow, sorry. Ooh, yeah, they talk about detail.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, detail.
So yeah, that's kind of where I went with this because, well, as many would know, I always proclaim that the Herald is my favorite ship, and one of my favorite things about this ship is the amount of detail that went into the ship. And there was a video. I sorry that escaped me that the individual who made the video. It's actually a 3D artist that does hard surface modeling and everything. He made it. He really explained it very well by highlighting the ship. But just for me, what I really like about this shot is that it shows a lot of detail and it shows how the ship looks. At least to me, it looks like it's a built thing because I have a whole. This is actually from a whole series that I did about the Herald. A little ways back, but this is one of my favorite shots just because it kind of encapsulates a lot of the detail on this particular part of the ship there. But the whole ship is basically covered.
I'm gonna be honest with you. If I didn't know better, I would think that was the illustration. It's that good. No, I mean, I'm talking about that level of detail. It to me, it's almost like a super illustrated, image of something. The detail is incredible, and it's so easy to miss this detail. People can go past these ships and not see it. That's a great shot. I love it.
Yeah,
do you feel like Drake and sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like Drake and Origin do such a good job of making you see these things, because when Drake does it right, it's impossible to deny, which is like the cutter, or like the new Drake stuff I feel like really stands out, or like Origin with their like marble surfaces with gold inlay or something like that, and it's just like it's so stunning and inspiring, just like this picture.
I appreciate that you went from the garbage can to elegance. I appreciate that. I do appreciate that.
When I laughed, I wasn't disagreeing with you. I was agreeing with you. It was just that there's no way I could take a picture that good. That's what I was laughing at, mostly. All right, so this is, okay, Depot, tell us about this one, please.
Okay, I only included this shot because this was one of my earliest shots I had ever taken in the game, and it's kind of just after I discovered, advanced camera controls or director mode, as Hasgaha had pointed out clearly in his video, as it was called back then. And I didn't really understand like messing with depth of field or anything like that. So there's no none of that here, but I did manage to get the camera somehow positioned in this angle and stuff like that. And it really kind of stood out to me. Back then, I actually played a female character, but I since switched, as you might have seen from my later screenshots. But that's kind of how dated this is. But I just, one of the shots that has always stuck with me, and I really like the colors that were in it. As we can say, it's kind of hard to get that lighting because just with the bright yellow of the Dumpers Depot sign and the yellow tint of the visor on the helmet, then all that just kind of brought this all together for me. So that's kind of one of the things that I really liked about this shot.
Do you remember what year you took this?
I would say 2019, maybe 2019. Okay. Because for a while I had not played the game, but I came back in around 2017, 2018-ish. So that's kind of when I really started getting back into Star Citizen a lot more in those times. So it was around then.
Nice. Very nice.
Cool. Thank you. Oh.
So yeah, this is one of my shots, of course, when I kind of discovered depth of field and was kind of using it a lot of my shots as well. This was taken near one of the down satellites on Hurston, and I really loved how the whole background is on fire, basically, and the camera standing there, kind of looking defiant. In the armor set we can't really get our hands on easily anymore, as well as kind of the foliage in the shot too, kind of gives the whole scene a certain depth to.
Brother, tell me about the foreground. How did you get the freaking flame embers in there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's kind of part of that's kind of a happy accident type of thing. Wasn't sure if they would show up as well in there, but they're all
love
around.
That looks so good.
It really sells the scene for me. So that's kind of why I really liked it.
So DK, what am I so remember? It said the title of this is "This Is Fine."
Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah, that's a really great shot. And I love the fact that you can see the purple eyes in there, which is pretty cool. It's a nice offset to the color because everything else is kind of a warm color, and you've got that cold eyes that are coming out of there, which is neat. Very cool.
It makes me feel like you burned down a whole force just to get, to get that shot. Something like that. I'm like terrified.
It's like, you know how many ships I crashed to get that going?
I'm not telling.
Only you can prevent forest fires. Okay, it's Terrapin, right?
Yep, that's the lovely Anvil Terrapin. That's kind of one of the things I like to do, is to show off ships and other things that you don't see flying around very often. And this particular spot is one of the spots I chose for one, the lighting, and the of course the setting of kind of being in a like a hangar or stable like this. For those who don't really know, this is the New Babbage garage. So actually flying the ship into the garage.
I'm sitting here trying to figure out where that was. I'm sitting here saying, I know every place in this game. Where is he?
I feel like you brought this into Star Wars or something like that. This looks really
so cool.
Look.
Using a place that you would never think of using. That is so cool.
Yeah. I actually was inspired by others that I saw using the spot, and it took me a while to figure out where it was. It's like, oh, okay, I know where this is now. So I wanted to make a few shots of my own. So I brought the Terrapin in there and decided to give it a good go.
Nice
shot.
Nice.
This is one of the few ones I've actually did post-processing on. It was the linear blur on the background. And of course, one of my favorite ships of all time, the best Gladius, the Pirate Gladius. And just shot in the rings of yellow. So I just basically wanted to kind of capture that action shot and that sense of motion, sense of speed that kind of goes along with this. And I kind of wanted to get an angle that kind of captured that a little bit. It's kind of a first attempt at that, so it might not be perfect, but I can see the obvious flaws, and that probably where I could have done better. But yeah, that's just mostly my intent, just to capture this particular ship in kind of a motion type thing.
Do you ever think about the danger of doing that? Because obviously you're not in the cockpit when you're taking the shot, right?
Yeah, I thought very clearly about this when I lined up the shot and started the action and started taking multiple screenshots. I may try a way to not have a unfortunate ending.
Okay.
Oh, real quick, what are you using to take the screenshot? Are you yeah, go ahead.
Just the
capture
in-game capture.
Oh, this is in-game, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like a lot of people use different things. So that's a good question. I feel like maybe to ask the whole group.
Okay, yeah, so
I want to know
we
what
can do that
Hasgaha is.
afterwards. Yeah, we can do that afterwards. Okay, but I'll make a note of it.
This is
There go to bacon again.
Yeah, of course, you gotta have your bacon shot. This was kind of one of those kind of moments that I had where I was doing a bunker mission, and I don't remember if I was coming or going on this one. I think I was arriving at the scene there. This is actually one of those hostile bunkers where the turrets actually shoot at you. So I had to park over the ridge. So I'm cresting over the ridge to the bunker, and of course I see Crusader in the sky, sunrise in the background, and just the way that the facility was lit up. And I wanted to kind of capture kind of a scene there where you had this nice, interesting play of light and shadow with Crusader hanging in the background there, kind of giving the whole scene some depth. You can kind of see some of the hills in the background as well too. That's kind of what inspired me for.
And that lighting doesn't last very long.
Yeah.
It was a very, very fortunate moment for me. I'm like, I gotta capture
you're
this.
seeing the shadows start to creep as you're sitting there. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of those things where I feel like if you showed this to someone outside of Star Citizen, like what would they think? We're like, oh, this is like you took a picture and then photoshopped a fake planet in the background.
Right.
But the foreground is real, but like it looks so good. It's just, I love it.
I'm also impressed that you've got 5 different people presenting images and you're not seeing any repeats. Everything is still distinctive. People can still, it's just, of course, obviously it's according to people's own eye and what they see, but there's just so much that you can do. And if you're really into the photography thing, you won't get tired. You'll always be able to find something, good stuff.
This was part of a whole series. I think I actually did a little bit of post on this one. I adjusted the like maybe the saturation of the hue on this one a little bit, but there's a whole series. But I just took out the tumbril cyclone and was just driving around Daymar, and I stopped at one point and got out and just decided to do a little pose with my character.
How'd you get that freaking lean? How did you get that lean?
He's on a hill.
Well, yeah, they're on the side of a hill.
Yeah,
is that what it is?
Yep.
Exactly.
Simple solution, Griffin. Simple solution.
Is crazy. I love it.
It's simple, but it's also like, whoa, I've never thought about that. I've never thought about putting my character. I'm always just like, but like, I was like, how is that? And then I was like, dang, he's on a hill. I need to use hills.
Your inspiration is Divine Shadow. Your inspiration.
That's very cool.
Well, like I said, I'm not sure if I was inspired by anybody for this one. This was kind of one of those things that just kind of worked out for me. But this is just one of a series. There's a whole bunch more with this whole thing. But I just like the shot in particular, but just because with the character there and the cyclone and all that, and you can kind of see a bit of the detail and it kind of pops out. So
yeah. What I also like about this is that him standing there, there's the aspect of scale is there. That's the other thing. Because sometimes it's you don't see, like, you don't think a tumble is as big as that, but when you're standing like literally right there against it, it's like, Jesus, look how big the freaking wheels are.
Yeah, that wheel.
Yeah, it's like, good night. Okay.
The tractor wheel.
This last one. Well, I'm not sure if this is the last one, but this one in particular was, part of my inspiration probably be Hasgaha. A lot of the character art says he's taken. I wanted to try to capture some of that detail, and in particular also, like I said, finding that place with the lighting, getting that rim lighting as well. Well, kind of on both sides. You kind of got the cool and the hot on one side versus the other. So that was a really good location for shooting this, and I just kind of wanted to get a look at my character. I agree. One of the things that kind of upsets me is that they took away the red colored eyes. I used to always have the red eyes.
Did they take that?
So you can't have that anymore.
Yeah. Where was this?
So knowing that you were focused on the lighting, how long did it take you to capture this specific image?
Oh, at least maybe 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
To wander around, like, no, it's not right.
Yeah.
Where's the light? Where's the light source?
It takes a long time sometimes.
Where's the light source? What is the light source?
This was actually taken in a station, and like when you go into the lobby, you know how you can go upstairs, and that overlooks the area there. There's that wall that has like all those like colored squares. Right near there, I believe.
Okay.
That I took this particular shot. It might have actually been Ever's Harbor, even if I recall correctly.
I'm so glad you got that backpack on there too, because I feel like there's fantastic detail.
Yeah.
And lighting. Coming from both sides on the geometric sides of the hard surfaces, and that looks really cool too there.
Yeah. Very nice.
And also, I have to compliment all of you on making beautiful characters. Like whenever I try to make a character in a character creator, it comes out coyote ugly. I guess it's the term I might want to use. So
I spend time on that. I feel like a lot of people.
Okay.
I spend time on my character every time.
And
okay.
Ooh.
Fast car. Next one. Going for Hasgaha.
Okay, so this is Hasgaha, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So please tell us about these. This one.
This one was, I think, just about showing the details of Area 18, the lighting. I think this was years ago, maybe shortly before Cyberpunk came out, so I was just trying to get ready for Cyberpunk. And I felt like this kind of fit with the Cyberpunk game, so that's where this one came from.
Where is this? I mean, yeah.
Yeah, this is Area 18,
Our
somewhere
Area 18, okay.
the back alleys.
Right outside G-Lock.
And Burdu is a big screenshot guy, professional. He works for EA. He does a bunch of stuff. He had taken a shot in another game, and I don't remember what it was, but this was kind of my recreation of what he had done. It was a guy mostly in shadow, walking away in the distance, and I was just trying to recreate the lighting and feel of his shot.
It's nice.
So yeah, the reason why I'm not familiar because go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying this feels like another straight out of a concept art book.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Yeah, I agree. This one feels like a concept art. Yeah, the reason why I'm not familiar with Orca, but I really leave New Babbage. So that's why I'm not familiar. Okay, cool. Yep, there go the bacon shot.
Well, old bacon. It's not even bacon. This is pre-bacon.
Yeah, I mean, this we got a lot more colors in it.
This was the fake Crusader.
Oh, okay.
Like when you couldn't go to it, or if you went too close, you'd die.
You blew up.
With with vertical lines, that's what I'm digging. Is you got the vertical versus horizontal look to it, which is really cool.
Yeah, I can't remember if you had to be at the poles to get that or not, but there's and this is on Daymar, I believe. Obviously, there's no Daymar visible. That was the whole point. It was just supposed to be a guy standing almost nothing with Crusader in the background, but I'm on Daymar somewhere.
Wow.
I don't want to be like derivative here, but this I feel like this has got like Alfonso Cuarón, is that the name? That the director, cinematographer. It's got that feel to it. Like I could see like Dune just being like plastered.
Yeah,
right there. It's got such a cinematic feel. The grand size of the planet compared to the small speck of person is perfect. With the oh man, this is so good.
Okay. Oh, this is this is what you use for the opening, the logo, right?
No, Hasgaha stole my idea. That's what happened. That was my picture. What are you talking about?
Go ahead, Oscar.
This was just all about detail in the eye. I remember when I released this photo, I was asking people if they could tell me where I was standing because the light I used is reflecting in the pupil. But we'll talk about it later. But I use reshade, which is in-game post-processing. So I'm not really taking it out of the game and editing it, but it's live in-game, and so I use an extreme chromatic aberration around to give it that kind of zoomy kind of feel to it. But yeah, it was a very specific place where I had to stand to get this lighting and the pattern and the pupil.
Yeah. Just admit it. You were working on moist eyeballs. Just admit it, and that's what it was.
You both of you, Abdi and Griffin, stole what I wanted to say.
Can you imagine being the person that worked on all those little veins?
Oh my
God! On the detailing there,
my God!
That's just damn.
Yeah.
Props to them.
It's great work. Great work.
Hey, Fast Cart, you're unlocked.
Yeah, great. After you both stole my joke, please go ahead. No, please go ahead.
I think the inspiration for this was just lack of color, not black and white, but just simplified shape, contrast, almost like a Apple product ad, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. And I came up with it because I didn't know this place existed. It's on Uterp, I think. It's like ice oceans almost. Where it's just completely flat. There's no texture on the ground. Yeah, so I had to go there myself.
It looks like the salt flats almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same idea, just it's all ice.
Like where they would film a car commercial or something like that, where like the car would just be like zooming around and like, see the dust in the background. That's really cool. This is a cool location. I haven't even thought about that.
And I love the subtlety of the mountains in the background. You can almost barely see it.
Is that the pilot standing off to the left? Or no? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, beautiful shot, but let's talk about the form of origin. Notice the staircase. Notice the staircase leads into the paint job of the body. You notice that the staircase leads into the body of the paint there. No, actually, that's a beautiful shot.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be the moderator here. He annoys me. You see,
it's a pretty shot. It is a beautiful shot.
Oh, okay.
This is a retake of something I took years before. Same basic idea. There's a platform, and it takes me hours to find it every time, but there's a platform on a building in Area 18 where it sticks out enough that you can frame the building that you're sitting on out of the shot and have the rest of Area 18 out in the distance. And then waiting for night to get the haziness of the lights coming up and all that stuff.
And again, the people provide the scale on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of scale going on in the shots that I gave you.
I love that. So you're always taking pictures of someone else, or do you have two accounts, or are you taking a picture of someone else?
This one is someone else. I don't honestly remember who now.
Okay, I was just
lately.
Like, do you have a model, like a person, or a second account, or? I
have friends that, like, I have a lot of people that ask and say I'd love to help and jump in a game with you and take a shot, but I tell them, you know, this takes hours and it's frustrating. Yeah, and I feel bad dragging people in, but there are a couple people who will spend the time with me, and lately I've actually been forcing my kids to help me.
Oh, that's cool.
Hey, I'll be yeah, you go. All right, so next up. Ooh, okay.
So same basic,
straight from CIG.
Yeah,
right.
The same basic idea is what his Divine Shadow was doing, but this is with reshade in game using a shader called Real Long Exposure, where it simulates just leaving the shutter open longer, so you get these motion blur effects. But doing it in game, I can see it and maybe control it a little bit better as long as I don't crash into something.
Yeah.
But it looks like I'm going fast, but I think I had it set to like maybe a 20-second shutter, and I was going a few meters a second. And that gives you a smoother blur.
You don't lose your detail.
Y'all gonna make me download Reshade.
That's great. That's really nice.
Cool. All right, I think this is number 7 coming up.
Yep.
Anytime I get sent to prison, which is never my fault, I try to make the best of it. And I find the lighting in the Klesher Caves to be the best. So whenever I'm down there, I try to take some pictures.
Yeah. Very cool. Very atmospheric down there in general.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking.
That's what I'm looking at too. There's a lot of stuff here.
To your pictures. There's so much to see.
Yep.
I mean, that's the smog or the fog or whatever you want to call it, the atmosphere, like you said. Yeah. Cool. And I think the last one.
Yeah, and I want to comment about this one too when you're done, Hasgaha, talking about this.
Whoa.
Yeah. So this was or maybe a year ago. But a friend of mine who helps me with some of the shots, he discovered and told me that the space wrecks that you do missions for, like you go to find the dead body or investigate, you'll see these dead bodies floating around with the broken helmet on. You can actually loot their helmet and take it. So I stole a few and then sat on it for months. I wanted to do some sort of a shot and I couldn't figure out what to do with it. And then one day I came up with this. I did a gasping motion and wanted to get the eye just barely through the slit. And, yeah. And then I was in a space station somewhere to get the lighting really bright overhead and in my face. But something dark was behind me. I don't remember exactly where I was.
And what I wanted to say about this shot when I saw it, and first of all, guys, I have to say this again. I wish you could see what this shot looks like when you look. I'm on a 40-inch screen or whatever. The detail in here is ridiculous. I mean, it really is. I didn't even notice that you could see the person's eye, their pupil, when I first saw it until I blew it up and looked at it. But what I wanted to say is, this is another example of using things in game, bringing them together to create something. You know, this isn't the way it was, but finding the helmet, finding the right lighting. Again, how much time does it take to pull all this stuff together? Sometimes you find yourself tapping a stupid key 80 times just to get the right angle under a light, or, you know, get the camera zoom focal length the way you want it. It takes a lot of work. And to the point, we've always talked about machinimas and how much time people spend. Some people spend not only hundreds of hours, but literally weeks or months. But people doing this type of photography can also spend a lot of time trying to get that shot right. It takes a lot of work to get it, but I thought this was a beautiful shot. And again, the detail, hats off to CIG. When you see every little rivet, every little thread in the gloves and everything, it just blows your mind, you know?
Cool.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions. I had a couple of questions. One was, what do you take screenshot? And the other one's, what do you think of Star Citizen being a screenshot simulator? Has it made you resentful, or made you proud of the game, or you proud to bring people in, or what do you think? So, what do you use to take screenshots, Hasgaha?
I use Reshade these days. In the early days, I was using MSI Afterburner. Basically, the default in-game screenshot tool is it captures in JPEG format, and it won't let you control the compression or the quality. And I've asked several people at CIG, and they've never been able to tell me exactly what the settings are. But regardless of how big your screen is, how big your resolution is, because it's a compressed JPEG, you're not gonna get all the detail out of it. Mm-hmm. So in the early days, I was using MSI Afterburner because you can capture in PNG, which is a lossless format. But then I switched to Reshade to start using the shaders. But you don't even have to, if you just want to capture in PNG or even BMP, you can use Reshade and just not even mess with all the fancy shader stuff. Just capture the image straight out, and you'll get a high quality lossless file out of it.
Cool, thank you. I think you just made people start downloading the app right now.
Reshade is a whole rabbit hole.
Yeah.
It's complicated. It can be a mess, but figuring it out once you get used to it, at least start with a small set of shaders if you're going to go that route. Like a lot of you have photography experience. Reshade has a level shader where you can just adjust levels. It has a black and white filter. It has stuff like that. So you just start small, figure out how that program works, and then you can move on to fancier, crazier stuff.
Yeah, that's super. Yeah, I love that. I don't use Reshade, but I have been, especially since using DLS or DSR in order to get up to 4K, because I have only a 2K monitor. I've been thinking about how to get like the full, like Hasgaha was saying, how to get like a fully uncompressed picture. So I started using NVIDIA Shadowplay. So I use that because it gives you ridiculously big PNGs that oftentimes you can't even upload to places because they're too big, and you end up having to compress them anyway.
Like the community hub.
Yep, you know it. But I just love that. For me, I have a workflow. I play on my PC, but I also have a Mac that I do like photo editing to sometimes. And being able to control where it saves your file is a big thing to me. So just using Shadowplay to say, put this in Dropbox so that when I'm playing in game, I can immediately send it over to my Mac and see what's going on a different computer. So I'm not like alt tabbing out of the game is big for me. So NVIDIA Shadowplay works well for that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Meg, you use anything in particular?
I do not. I just press the print screen button.
It's way to go.
Print screen.
Not yet, at least. Maybe in the future.
I guess that's the same for you, Griffin.
I do both. Sometimes the screenshot, if it's planned out, I'll do shadow play, like Abdi said. But if it's just something spontaneous, hate to say it, print screen button, boom, done deal.
And his Divine Shadow, you already said you use print screen button.
Yeah, it's print screen. I've tried Reshade in the past and some other tools, but yeah, I really haven't justified using anything else. But yeah, but if I really wanted to go deeper into it, I might consider other tools like Reshade on a more permanent basis, or NVIDIA's capture solutions, because they, like I said, you can get better quality out of those. But the regular in-game tools are sufficient for most purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you to Hasgaha's video I watched earlier. I decided to just take the print screen and use copy into image. I don't use quality. That's what I do.
Oh god.
So, what do you got? What do you guys think of becoming Screenshot Simulator compared to like when you first became a backer to now? Anyone?
Well, I mean, people have said that, like I said earlier, some people say it in a complimentary way, some people have said it in a negative way, or in a not negative, but they just kind of, at that point it was like, well, here's one thing that we know works in the game is screenshots, the other stuff isn't working, but I mean, I think that it has been to the advantage of CIG, because there are people that one thing that people cannot deny is that Star Citizen's a beautiful game. And a lot of it comes from screenshots that people have seen posted, whether it's in Reddit or, on CIG's website, wherever. So, I mean, I think it's an asset. I don't see it as a negative by any means. There's some people who don't care about that stuff, and that's okay, but there are also a lot of people who are learning about it and they admire it. They love watching it. Some, just like people do watch machinimas, they do the same thing with these. Every week, Yacht Club spends HDS, Hasgaha, they spend 20 minutes, 30 minutes looking at screenshots, every week, So yeah, it's something that people like to see.
And I just want to say, like, from my perspective, one of the reasons why so many people love this game is you can go there. Like what Fastcart was saying, that mountain over there, you can go there. And like I was saying, the fact that this is all, like, when you see it all come together and you experience it for yourself, it has, I don't know, I don't want to sound like a cultist or something like that, but like it really does. It really does feel unique in terms of my gaming experiences, knowing that is a place that I can go to and I can still take a picture and it looks as if someone hand painted that skybox or something. Is big to me. I end up sharing my stuff mostly with other Star Citizens. I don't really evangelize outside of that because I don't know if people get it, and I don't want to explain it. But when you show it to other Star Citizens, I feel like the moments that I had where I was looking at his Divine and Gomab and Hasgaha, not Gomab, I'm sorry, his Divine and Hasgaha and Griffin and Meg's shots, like where I'm just, my jaw drops, like I love feeling that. It's cool to see that.
Okay.
Cool. All right, so Griffin, you want to take back over?
Real quick, I want to talk about what are some ways that this can mean something beyond just the fanciful idea of taking pictures, right? How does this build itself possibly into the game? And Meg, I appreciated something you said earlier. You talked about getting the macro photography, and later on, I've seen people, I can't remember who it was now, but there was someone who actually went into the game and started doing macro photography of stuff because the players run past things so much. I was coming down the elevator in Orison, and when I came off the elevator, they had a bunch of plants that were lining there, and I went up to the plants, and just for some crazy reason, I decided to zoom in on them. They even have, how like plants get little dead brown areas on them and stuff? They put so much freaking detail. I'm like, somebody could do a whole thing on the different foliage and plants in this game, which is like ridiculous, right? But I wanted to talk about... We gonna say first,
and the developers, someone had to research plants and to get all the details right.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Time and effort went into that.
Whether it's plants, whether it's clothing, whatever it is, that somebody went into a great amount of work and detail. The question becomes, how do you translate that into things that people can do in the game? Now, I know people always think I'm joking around about the whole origin thing, but I want to show a video that Hasgaha did, a section of it, and a section of a video that I did. And what I'm looking at is how these things can be part of a game loop later. And Hascart, you're in one of these videos, okay? So I want to show Hasgaha's first, okay? He did a video here called The Eclipse of Stanton.
Okay, I got it.
Now, I'm not going to run this whole video because it takes some time. It's about, it's 2 minutes long. There will be people who will do touring in the game that will want to see pretty places, and they'll want to go there and take pictures. He was showing us the video, but I guarantee you there'll be some people who will be like, hey, I'll take this tour. Or there may be a mission where you go out and do something like that, and for reputation, you can take a photograph. But I think that there are going to be these other avenues that will open up for gameplay in Star Citizen. I'm going to show you one other one while I'm still kind of getting things on the computer running here, because I mean everything's shut down, so I've got to relog into everything here. This other video was this one here, and this was when Invictus 2 years ago, Fast Car Fist, several people, I think DK was there, and we all wanted to go see the Bengal carrier for the first time. And so we all piled into a ship, and we took a 600i. And the reason why we took it is because of the visibility of that ship. And people were able to find spots. And I'm going to let you hear the dialogue, but what people were doing was getting their tourist cameras out and exciting to take pictures.
I'll make sure to get some shots of it.
Thank you, sir.
Big ship.
We're gonna pass direct. It's gonna pass directly over us, okay?
Yep, I'm filming. Interest. Oh, good. You got film. Okay. Got screenshots and film. Oh shit! I should have F4 on this. Have I sit? Yeah.
Look at the gun on that thing. Oh my God! Look at the guns on that thing.
That thing is insane. The gun is as big as.
So think about not just situations like this, but when there's other places in solar systems, nebulas, all types of stuff that people, you know, you can't pilot and do all this stuff sometimes, but there'll be people who will pile in a bunch of friends just for the sake of doing a tour of something. And people will. I think personally people will do it. They'll get into it, you know, as crazy as it may seem. I think people will.
All right, here we go.
Hasgaha, you said there are people
now.
that, go ahead.
People are doing that now at the Daymar Rally. They get the 890 jump, and
Yep.
they get the VIPs to watch from the 890.
I've been on. They inverted the ship, and we sat there and watched them from the glass top. It was so cool.
Make sure y'all get the shot.
You know?
Y'all make sure y'all get the shot on this.
But there were about 7 of us on the ship when we did this, and people were excited about doing it.
Look at that.
I want to sound like a cultist again, but like, what other games do you see people doing that kind of stuff?
That
Like,
many.
like what other games do you like have people piling into a ship just to see something like this?
Yeah. It's crazy as it may seem.
MMOs, you know, some MMOs have like limited time events and stuff like that, but this is sometimes it's for something as big as this ship, or sometimes it's for something just like, oh, there's an eclipse, like a regularly occurring event or something like that in the game. That's so cool.
And you talk about scale. That gives you some scale references right there.
Definitely. Well, listen, we've got some questions, Fast Card.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and hit them?
ask them, or you... Okay.
Or what?
So
Abdi
the
or
first one
Abdi or
is-
Yo-Yo, one of them, they could do it. Whoever wants to do it.
I got
How
it.
do I look at
Okay.
the questions?
It's in Redeem. I'll show you. After the show. But this is from Bonsai138. So, what are you guys thinking about the mix of external cameras, head tracking, camera movement to get drone-like flyby shots, especially of ships? So, what do you guys think about mixing external cameras, head tracking, camera movement to get drone-like shots?
I do that. Yeah, I mean, some of the MO Esports promo videos we do, that's exactly how we do it. You position the camera either right at the front of the nose of the ship, like something small, like a Pisces or an M50, just so it's not in the shot, but you know exactly where the camera is based on your ship, so you're not crashing into anything. And then you throw in some head tracking movement, and you get some dynamic flyby chase kind of shots.
Very cool.
Cool.
I've done the same thing myself.
All right. That was Bonsai. I'll make that it's complete. And come to the next one. This was one from Popped in Space. Right now, the camera is for art. Does the panel think the camera will become a gameplay feature, like for spying, cartography, and more? What do you think of the potential for the camera to become gameplay feature, spying, cartography?
Ever since I think the third-person camera has always been in the game, unless I'm mistaken. But from the very beginning, people who take the game seriously, like the FPS or combat or anything, a lot of people, or not a lot, but there's been a group who have been very against external third-person cameras because it's fake. It's just this floating, like there's nothing there. You're cheesing the game. You're getting views you shouldn't be able to get if you're viewing from your eyeballs. So a small group of us, I have a very, very small Discord channel for camera SC junkies, and we've been pushing CIG to implement a camera drone, short range, something small that everyone can see, everyone can shoot at and destroy, something we can upgrade, we can repair, but it fixes all those problems, and it includes it creates the, like what you're saying, where you can use it to spy on people, to look around corners, to create all sorts of gameplay. Yeah. So we're waiting for that. I mean, the Carrack is supposed to have those giant drones that can go out, but my camera just went wonky.
Yeah, it's okay. It'll pop back in. It does that from time to time on the internet. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, so you were done, Hasgaha?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else want to take that before I go to the next one?
Good.
Well, I kind of mirror what Hasgaha says, that we should have an actual physical camera drone in game, because it just only makes sense, just kind of given what they're going for, immersion style with the whole game, and just would fit more lore wise and everything like that, than just rather have some arbitrary way of looking around and things like that. And it just kind of, to further answer the questions, will it be used strategically for more things, like of course that you would have like satellites perhaps, or other specific ships, like the well, just to name one ship, the Reliant Mako, which has this whole suite of screens that are supposed to be used for cameras and shots and stuff like that could potentially be used for shooting an event, or conversely for espionage or just intel or anything like that. And this could all tie into maybe data running as well too, where the images that are being captured by these things could be saved as some sort of data or information that can be transported by other ships and other players and stuff like that. It can be a whole commodity built around this. That's kind of where I would hope it would be going, but of course it's just speculation on my part.
I was going to ask you guys, do you think that the Mako will become the extension for us in game, beyond the orbiting camera that, surrounds our ship or around us? But do you think that they'll come up with some enhanced something that, that you would prefer to use the Mako? You know what I mean? When you want to capture, do you think that because right now we call it the news van, right? Oh, we're going to capture combat and battles, but what are the possibilities? I'm thinking of like how the Hubble telescope, things of that nature. Do you think that they'll create something that allows that ship to do a little bit more, and also give you a reason to put it to use beyond news reporting?
I thought that was the marketing behind it. That was the whole point. It was just never done.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I would really hope so.
Like they were talking about streaming from the camera and like more advanced camera stuff out of that module, but nothing ever happened. And then even in the early days, you were stuck with a crosshair in the middle of that camera.
Right.
So people didn't even want to use it.
It's rough.
Yeah. Oof. I mean, it's great for when you're shooting, but the crosshair's in your image, it sucks. Yeah.
Yeah. In the beginning, it was just a turret view. That's all it was.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay.
All right. So we have one last question, but we kind of covered it, but not really in this specifically. But what compiling software do you use? Do you use Nuke, Adobe After Effects, Blender?
First of all, I want to say, stop insulting us by thinking that this isn't all raw images. These were all original shots. I don't know what you're talking about some compositing or post.
That was from New Soul. That was from Fist to Face.
I know. I'm giving Fist a hard time. Like we're not good enough to just get these shots naturally. No, I'm just kidding. I'm insulted. I don't know. Did you guys use any of those products, any of those softwares at all?
Well, not for the shots here. So people ask this a lot, but I try to make a distinction between screenshots and then images, because I do both.
Yeah.
And I very specific tell people this is a screenshot. It uses reshade most of the time, but it's still in game. I'm not compositing. I'm not adding. I'm not doing a lot of post editing. But then, like, I work for JRDF. I do some of their their instruction booklets, the box art, stuff like that. And a lot of those are composites and art and lots of Photoshop layers and all sorts of stuff. So yeah, I do both. But for screenshots, no, it's just reshade mostly.
Yeah, I mean, like if I for professionally, if I'm working, I've been working for a large corporation, so I have them pay for Adobe Suite, but I only use that for that work just in case there's any copyright issues. So I've since maybe a couple of years ago, I've kind of sworn off Adobe just with the constant paying every month kind of thing. So I've found analogs that have been lifetime purchases. Which hopefully, you know, if anyone's watching here, it's more accessible. So like I use Affinity Photo, Affinity Designer, Clip Studio Paint. You know, there's analogs for everything. DaVinci Resolve. So if that's the way you want to go, you can do that. But Affinity Photo is kind of what I use for, like I showed that one shot where I turned it into kind of an ad. That's what I use for that.
Nice. Okay.
Oh, that was the last of it.
Cool. Well, we've got through the show, guys. We're a little long, but we got through it. We want to say, first of all, thank you to His Divine Shadow and to Mr. Hasgaha for being our guests here this week. First time for both of them, and we really appreciate them putting in the time and submitting their work, which was awesome. And I want to say thank you to Abdi and Yo-Yo, because I didn't know that they had such great talent as well. I'm definitely going to start using y'all so y'all can forget it now. And to our curator, Fastcart, as well, for pushing us through.
Yeah, I took one screenshot, but we didn't have enough time to get to it. So that's fine.
Yeah, you didn't submit it. That's what it was. Anyway,
is that your new nickname though? The curator.
Oh God! Don't give him another title. Please don't give him another title.
Thank
Please.
you, Abdi.
He does not need another title. Oh my God. Oh God. It's funny you said that. My Adobe Creative Cloud just told me I've got all these updates going on. Jeez, I think it's gonna start. Anyway, let's talk about what we've got coming up. Abdi, why don't you talk about? Oh, Fastcard, you talk about it. Talk about Thursday. And Abdi, you talk about Saturday for me.
Thursday is Soul Talk, 9 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UTC. We talk about what's going on in the community. We normally cover Star Citizen Live. We normally cover ISC for that week, and whatever else is going on in that week. That's a community discussion. People can come in Discord and talk to us about the different topics, and it's a fun time. So come on Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. UTC for Soul Talk.
Abdi?
Yeah,
No, Abdi's got it.
Okay.
Yeah, so Soul Voices is our other show. It is also community-based, but it's more looking at the community. So looking at Reddit and Spectrum and other places where people are talking about Star Citizen. You can have your voice there too. You join our Discord to learn more about that kind of stuff, but that show is on Saturdays at 3 p.m. ET.
And next Sunday, we are doing a show entitled Whether or Not. We're going to be talking about the impact of weather in Star Citizen. We know that we have a little bit of weather. It's kind of wacky weather, but we know that CIG has talked about dust storms and nebulas. Well, not nebulas, windstorms, snow, rain, all this stuff. And
solar flares.
Yes. So, well, yeah. And how this stuff is going to impact us with gameplay, possibilities for the future of going into Pyro and all that good stuff. So it's going to be next Sunday at 8 p.m. Is that right? 8 p.m. Eastern time. I forget what time our show starts. Next week, whether or not. Hopefully you guys can join us for that. Okay. Other than that, that's it. We're going to wrap it up because we are over time. Once again, thank you to Mr. Hasgaha. Thank you to His Divine Shadow. Thank you to Yo-Yo, Fastcard, Update. Thank you for all of you guys who bore with us through the crash of 2023, April 2023. But we came back Appreciate you guys hanging out there with us. We are going to be setting ourselves up for a raid for one of our good friends, Verity.
Yeah, I just got to say, these screenshots were fantastic, beautiful, incredible, spectacular, fabulous.
God help him. Please help him. We're going to be raiding Verity. So thank you guys again. We'll be seeing you. We're going into, we got one more. We're still in April next week, right? One more week. Okay, then we get into May.
Yep.
All right. Hope you guys are enjoying. Oh, no, I'm not going to even say 3.18.2. Anyway, let's hope that 3.18.2 gets better. But we're going to let you guys go. Have a great night. Stay safe as always. Peace, love, and soul. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care. Adios.